So I genuinely believe this could be the opportunity of an absolute lifetime. You know what I think? The motherfucking opportunity of a lifetime. Hello guys and welcome to another video. My name's Mark, I'm an entrepreneur and property investor, and in today's video we're going to be talking about how to make money in what might be a once in a lifetime opportunity, as there seems to be a property crash glooming in the UK. And what I really want to do today is go through why we believe there's going to be a property crash, what a property crash actually is and what it's going to look like, and how big it possibly could be. And then we're going to look at strategies that we can employ in order to take advantage of this opportunity in front of us. So as I said, this could be a once in a lifetime event. So stay tuned, let's get through this video, and if you haven't already, please give it a big like, subscribe if you haven't, hit that bell notification. Remember, I don't upsell anything, and because I don't have a course or anything to buy, I don't hold any information back. I just give my perspective on what's going on in the market as honestly as I possibly can. So without further ado, let's get into the video and start talking about why we think there might be a property market crash. Now, a precursor to property market crashes in the past has quite often been high interest rates. And unless you've been sleeping under a rock, the Bank of England is essentially raising interest rates at a rapid pace. This will result in mortgages being more This will result in mortgages being more expensive on properties, and with 40% of UK properties being bought with a mortgage, it means that the affordability factor becomes more difficult for people to afford. Now let's look at one of my properties I'm refinancing. I've got about a £120,000 mortgage on it, and it's currently secured at about 3%. Now that's going up to about 7%. That means my mortgage is more than doubling. So at the moment I think I'm paying about £325, something like that. It's going to be nearly £700 a month. Now, only two things can really happen in this instance, because my rent obviously will need to increase in order to ensure I still have a profit, or I will choose to sell the property, and as properties go onto the market, we increase supply, assuming demand starts to decrease because interest rates are so high and affordability is low, we should see a correction in house prices. Now, four of the most expensive words ever said are, "This time it's different." And I think it was Sir John Marks Templeton who said that. And what we need to look is at history and understand what's happened in the past to how we can react in the future. So that's why we think a property crash may well happen. What it's going to look like and how big it's going to be are the two questions. So if we look historically, and we've got some data of the last 4 property crashes, the largest one-year reduction was about 15%. The largest reduction over the course of about 12, 13, 14, 15 months was about 20. So those are the sort of numbers we're looking at, between 15 and 20%. If it was going to be on the same sort of scale as some of the biggest crashes ever. Now recently, the central banks and the governments of the world have indulged themselves in printing lots of money to solve these sort of problems. And I don't believe it's beyond the realms of possibility that house prices start to tank and central banks react very, very quickly to provide liquidity, to reduce interest rates, and to support housing markets. So we might only have a very small window of opportunity. Even if we look at that graph again with the historics, you only had a very small opportunity over all of those times in order to get the bottom. In most instances, prices recovered to their pre-sort of crisis level fairly quickly, within a couple of years or so. So we might not have much time in order to take advantage of this. So what are we going to do in order to take advantage of this and make some money? As I said, this could be the opportunity of a lifetime. Well, the first thing I believe anybody should do is decide on their strategy, because this will really focus your mind in terms of what you're trying to achieve. And obviously we're going to need to get some capital and all this sort of stuff together. But when it comes to getting capital, if you decided on your strategy, it makes it much easier to create savings and to go into speaking to investors, because you already know what the outcome is. You can speak with a level of certainty. So I think there's really 2 options when it comes to property. First of all, you either invest for cash flow. I look for properties where I can create a cash flow of, as you know, with single lets, 8 to 12%, but I'll put 8, HMOs 15 to 25%, service accommodation. I've only got one service accommodation at the moment over in France, and I'm looking for sort of 25%. And the reason that these returns increase is because complexity increases and risk increases. So please don't think that when I'm putting down 15%, that's guaranteed. Not at all. That comes with increased risk and increased complexity. But because there's increased risk, we also get increased reward. Single let, obviously the simpler simplest way of renting out a property. Find a family, put it in there. The average tenancies are fairly long, 3, 4, 5 years you can get people in for. In fact, one of my single lets has never been replaced, and that's like nearly 6 years, I think. So very, very simple. HMO's much more turnover. The second way to look at it is capital gains, and this is buying below market value or something that needs to be done up, and this is like buy and hold and refinance, flips where you're doing the work and you're selling on, or kind of a hybrid between the two, which is BRRR, which is buy, rent, no it isn't, it's buy, refurbish, refinance and then rent out. And I do this in two ways. Either I've bought below market value and given myself some insulation and wiggle room there, or I bought something that needs some work doing and I've increased the value by doing the work. So that's going to give me something to get back out in a couple of years. And then the second thing is obviously getting a good ROI on my cash. And that means that obviously when that comes back to me, that's paying off the amount of capital I put in. So I think first of all, decide on your outcome. And when I've said decide on strategy, I really mean your outcome. So if you're investing for cash flow, how much? Are you looking for £2,000 a month? £3,000 a month? What does that mean in terms of how much you then need to invest in order to get to that number? If you're looking to try and create some capital gains and do some flips, how much are you trying to create? 30 grand a year? 40 grand a year? 50 grand a year? If so, again, that will give you a good idea of what to get ready. And that comes to point 2. Get ready and be ready, because these opportunities don't last long. Markets turn very, very quickly. And if you look at the graph of stocks and shares and property, which I've got and I've just sent to you, Tom, you can see that the property market is far more stable than the stock market. The stock market moves very, very quickly because it's very emotional. It's very easy to sell a stock or an index fund. Housing takes a lot longer, so even though sentiment might be right down, it could take you 6 months to drop your prices, 12 months, by which time sentiment might have increased. So you've not got a large window of opportunity on in many of these occasions, so you need to be ready. And the first way you need to be ready is have capital. Now, don't care what anyone else says, you're going to need to have some cash, even if you're looking to get investors, i.e. other people's money involved. If you want to have a large piece of the pie, you're going to have to take on a piece of the risk. I don't know any investors that are going to give away the pie without you taking some of the risk. So savings, some cash, something on the sidelines is going to be key. So the second thing is to get investors involved. Who might you know that might have some money on the sidelines that when it becomes the right opportunity, you could sell and explain, now I believe is the right time for us to be buying something and we can make some money together. Quite often when you're starting out, these are family members, friends, the sort of people that trust you anyway instinctively, and you go into this together going, okay, well, we understand our risk and we understand our reward, so this is worth doing together. And the third thing would be your credit. Now, I'm taking a bit of a risk here, Tom, but if you put my credit report up there somewhere, I haven't looked at it yet, but you have a look at that. That's my credit report. I'm hoping it's right up the top somewhere, it should be. Now, it's like that because I use credit cards and I take out loans. And the more money you take out in loans and credit cards, the more creditworthy you become. And here's a text message conversation I had with my wife literally a week or two ago, where I was explaining to her that she'd just taken out a loan for some investing that we were doing, and we never borrow money to spend, we only ever borrow money to invest, just to make that very, very clear. We never borrow money to spend, we only borrow money to invest. She took out some money in August at 3.2%, and her credit profile went up. And she was confused, and I was like, no, the more you borrow, the more you prove your trustworthiness, the more your credit profile rises, and you can borrow more. So it is a little bit of a spiral upwards, if you like. The more you borrow and pay back, the more trustworthy you are and the higher your credit profile will be. Now, this isn't necessarily going to change your mortgage rates or anything like that, but it will change your access to credit if the time is right. The second thing you really need to be ready with is agents' relationships and deal sourcer relationships. Where are you going to find these deals? I would also add in auctions. You could start looking at auctions. Quite often, one of the first places that you're going to see price drops is in the auction house. So if we went back to 2020, 2021, a lot of people who've been watching my channel channel a while know that I was saying that auctions are crazy. You're paying more at auction than you would with an estate agent. Well, now investors are starting to step back a little bit. Keep an eye on auctions. I believe opportunities are going to come up there first, and then they will feed through into the estate agent windows. So you may well see this as a precursor. So again, relationships, agents, deal sources, auctions, make sure you're all over these things so that when the opportunities come through, you have the cash, you have the ability to be able to buy, you've got the relationships in place, and you're ready to take advantage of this opportunity. Now, the last thing I put on my list here is to close the deals. You've got to practice patience. Make sure that you're always honest and act with a high level of integrity when you're dealing with people. Now, we're quite often going to be asking for a deal. Let's say a property's up for 200K. The market has moved on and other similar properties are coming onto the market 190, 195. We're going to be coming in quite a lot lower than this 200K because we need to create some insulation for ourselves and B, some margin so that we know that when it increases, we can really take advantage of the opportunity. So we're going to be coming in, I don't know, about 160 maybe, 165. And we're looking for sellers. Why have I written 160 twice? And we're looking for sellers that need to sell or really are motivated to sell. We haven't had this opportunity for a long time. We haven't had this market for years. And my gut is that we're going to go into 2023 and have the opportunity to create wealth. Now, why is this important? Well, if you think about it, let's say, for example, let's take a really outlandish sort of number and say that property price is halved. I don't believe that that's going to be the case at all, but I'm just going to use that as an example of why it matters so much. Let's say a 200K house became worth 100K, and you then bought that for 100K using 25K down, so 25K in, and the rest was mortgaged up, and you were able to break even, only break even on a cash flow basis. Well, let's talk about what happens when the house prices recover from 100K to 200K, which they often do within a few years, let's say 2, 3, 4 years. Well, you've just made over £100,000. Well, you just made £100,000 from 25K investment. That is a huge return on investment of 4x. 400%. And this is why the opportunity is so big. When things drop by 50%, in order for them to go back up to where they were, they double. And you double your money. So rather than it being just a 50% increase, it's a 100% increase. Now, the fact that you're using leverage means actually it's a 400% increase. But you've got to be really careful when it comes to leverage. Don't take on more debt than you can afford to service, and make sure that you're going to be breaking even at least. I think you need to have a profit in it on a cash flow basis. The chances are that when the best opportunities are there, the lending will be constrained, there will be tight monetary conditions, because that's what's going to create that environment that's going to allow you to have those opportunities. So you need to be prepared. Hopefully, guys, this video has been useful for you. I've really enjoyed putting it together. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. And please, please, please take advantage of this opportunity. It really could be the single best opportunity of our lifetime. Cheers, guys.